Hello CC friends, I'm Alli. Thanks for joining for Perspective Lesson. Today we're going to do a Native American landscape that shows perspective, meaning we have like a foreground, things that are near us, we have a middle ground, and then we have a background, things that are in the back. So let's warm up a little bit and talk about how we can kind of achieve some of these things. So first, let's draw some shapes. So get out a scrap sheet of paper and you can grab a crayon. That's what I'm going to be using. And we're going to be looking at the difference between shapes and forms. So shapes are two-dimensional. Like I can measure the height and the width of them. So like here's an artist card right here. It's two-dimensional. Like it's flat. I can put my hands over it. It does not have any form to it. I can measure how long and wide it is, but it does not have any height to it. And that's the difference between a shape and a form. So we're going to draw some shapes and then we're going to change them into forms. So I'm just gonna use a crayon. A crayon can give you, I did this in marker, so it will show up well, but a crayon can give you some good variety with kind of shading that we're going to be doing. So let's draw a circle. Okay, and it does not have to be straight in a row, but we want to make sure that we've got space on our paper to draw them all. We'll draw a square, and then we can draw a triangle. So all these are shapes. If we cut them out, we could hide them, like squish them with our hands. They are flat. Shapes are flat. Forms are not. We're giving the illusion that this is a form. We could still cover it up with our hand, but in real life, a form is three-dimensional, okay? So let's first take this circle and we're gonna change it into a sphere. So we're gonna pretend like we've got some lights shining down on it right here. So it's really bright right here. And we're going to make it a little bit darker in the corner. So I'm gonna use a hard hand. Then I'm gonna use a medium hand. Then I'm going to use a light hand and stop. Now, when we have that light shining on it, another way to help give it that form look is to give it a shadow for where it's sitting. So when we're standing on the sidewalk and the sun's shining on us, our shadow is touching us. It's not 3 feet out from us. So touching this sphere that we just drew, we're just gonna do little squiggle lines like that. Ta-da! Now this is a sphere. Let's take this square and change it into a cube. We're gonna add 3 lines that are going slanted, and we're gonna do them all the same length, or try to. We're not gonna get a ruler out, okay? So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. We're not going to touch this one in the bottom, okay? So we're gonna go at an angle back. I'm gonna leave my hand going that same direction. Angle back and angle back. 1, 2, 3, okay? We've got these 3 lines. Now we're going to connect this top to the bottom. Do you see this straight line right here? We're gonna make that same line back here, so they're gonna be parallel. Like so. Now we're gonna connect the top ones. It's going to be parallel to this line. And now we've just made a cube. Now to give it that dimension, like we have that light shining on it, I'm going to do dark, kind of medium and light. And I can do a little dark down here, medium and light. So a marker is not the best to use this because you can't get that light hand to it. Okay, and now let's come to our triangle and we're gonna turn it into a pyramid. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna draw 1 line going back. So we're gonna come down here at this bottom corner. We're gonna draw 1 angled line going back. We're now going to connect it to this top point, like so. And now we're going to do a little shading. Heavy, medium, light. You've got plenty of room to continue practicing this. You could, if you're doing this in community, take it home, practice it at home. All right, now to make, oh, we've got to do the shadows. I forgot about our shadows. So let's come touching this corner. You don't want to get it so dark that then it looks like it's melting onto the table, but kind of like that. All right, you can always put a line in the back to make it look like they're sitting on a table. And here we just drew forms. These is form, pyramid, cube, and a sphere. Great job. Let's get started with our drawing here with our perspective. This is just with marker and crayon. If you have oil pastel or if you want to use watercolor, you can do that to get some really vibrant colors. I'm going to use my marker. So first we're going to do our horizon line. That's going to be what separates our sky from our ground. If you're using a permanent marker, please make sure that you're using 2 sheets of paper or protecting the table somehow underneath. All right, I'm not going to do it right in the middle. I'm going to go a little bit up from the middle. So if I've got the middle here, I'm going to come up a little bit, a couple fingers like that. It's not a perfect line across. It can have some wave in it. If you need an adult to put some dots on there for you, then do that. Next, we're going to add these mountains that are sitting on this horizon line and taking us off into the wild background. All right, we're gonna draw this first one. This one is closer than these other ones because we can see this whole mountain from left to right. This is your mountain range, so you can decide the placements. If we wanna put it a little bit over to the left or right, it's okay. So we're gonna go up and kind of come down. All right, I tried to put a little bit of bump into it. All right, now let's say coming off of this one, we're gonna have one that's behind it. Okay, so I'm gonna be touching this line right here, go up, kind of come down. And let's do the same thing again, and then let's go off the paper. And then we can put a little one way in the background, so he's going to nestle in between those. So if you wanted to add some more, you can. Let's get these connected over here. And we can connect those. All right, so now we have our mountain range. We'll go back and we'll add that color. See how I have a heavy hand, medium, and light to give that illusion that it's got some dimension. All right, next we're going to draw the teepee that's here in our foreground. If you notice, we're gonna use this horizon line to come down from that. So we're going to, first, let's get where we're gonna put our foundation. So if you look at it, it's about the width of my hand. So I'm gonna lay this here. We can do a dot and a dot. It's not sitting all the way on the ground, so just come up a little bit. All right, so now let's connect these. And they used animal hides. It didn't have to be super straight, so it can have a little bit of wave to it. And then I'm gonna come to the middle of this and put a dot and kind of come down and come down. All right, and then let's put our sticks that are coming out of this that are supporting underneath. So we have one in the middle, and then we can do one to the left, one to the right. If you want to make those look a little thicker, you can do that. All right, while we have our marker, let's do the shadow of where the flap's pulled back and we're looking into the tent a little bit. So we're just gonna do a line right here. So inside of our big triangle, we've now made a little triangle. If you've got a Sharpie or a crayon, go ahead and fill that in. All right, and now we're going to do a little rolling hill right here, and then we'll use the crayon or color pencil if you're using that, to add in the other things. So let's have, if we come from our teepee, we're gonna come like 3 fingers over, and I'm going to put a dot right here near the top, a few fingers down, and I'm just gonna kind of connect it back here. It's kind of creating like our middle ground, like that. Okay, so it's gonna kind of separate our green grass that's growing next to our river. Okay, so let's start applying our color. If you've used cardstock and you want to do watercolor, you could do that. Or I'm gonna just show you with crayon. So first let's get our river in there. We're going to start over here on the left. We're gonna go straight. We're gonna jump over the teepee. When we get to that line, then we're gonna kind of curve down. Objects that are closer to us are going to appear larger. We know that this teepee is nowhere near as big as the mountain back there, but because it's closer to us, it's bigger. All right, so this river back here is just 2 parallel lines, kind of skinny. And then as it gets down closer to us, it appears bigger. So I have it going down to the bottom. There's about my hand width, okay? And then maybe like 3 or 4 fingers up. I didn't color this in solid. I wanted to show there's kind of a little movement, so I used my blue crayon and just did lines. Then you can get another shade of blue, because when the light hits it, you're gonna get different colors. All right? Okay, let's add in the details of these grasses, and then we will work on the solid blocks of color. So I've got some grasses here that are more in the foreground, and then I've got some here in the middle ground. So I'm gonna take a green and just do some lines coming up. I'm gonna do, in each of these, I'm gonna do 3 of them. They're a little bit taller. I have like some cattails on top of it. Maybe some little grass in between. Here's another bundle of the cattails. I'm gonna do 3, at least 3. You don't wanna get them too busy to where there's like 10 cattails and then it looks like a brown blob. We're just giving the impression. Maybe there's some hiding behind there too. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll put on those brown cattails. So I'm gonna do a solid oval. All right, next let's layer some other greens in it. Now we're gonna do the ones that are here more in the middle ground. We're not going to give any cattails back here just because they're further away. Things that are further away don't have as much detail. That's another thing that helps us know that they are in the background. We can add some different colors, greens to it, but we're not going to get into the details of it. All right, so I'm gonna put a little green. Here you'll see that I mixed the green and the brown, so I'm gonna do a light hand with some green. Same thing here, some green. If you want to add in another color green, you could do that. Starts filling it in. All right, and then I added in some brown because I'm imagining that they're walking around out here, that they've got little paths down to the creek. So I'm gonna put some brown underneath the teepee, and then I'm gonna make it thick right here at the door or the little flap, and then kind of just fade it off down to the creek. Okay, you could use these same colors. We're gonna come in and you could layer the grass there, because the grass is many shades of greens and browns and yellows. You could use this brown to do your teepee. You could do a heavy hand, medium, and then fade it to the light, a light hand. And you could mix in other browns or oranges. Heavy, medium pressure, and then more of a light hand. Just like we practiced when we took those shapes and turned them into forms. All right, and then we're going to repeat this. So back here, I just did a really solid color brown, and then I did the same things with the mountains, a heavy hand, medium, and then light. And I chose like 2 dark browns and a lighter brown. So it just depends on what crayons you have, or if you wanted to do watercolor or colored pencils. So let's do this. All right, so here we are with our completed perspective. If you wanted to add more layers, then you could use watercolors like I mentioned, and just go and layer the sky on the top here. The crayon will resist, not completely, but will resist it a little bit. And I think it's good to have some areas where it's heavier. Then you give the illusions of clouds. If you wanted to come back in and go over these areas, then you could do that. You could get your brown and then just go over that with a brown and just kind of layer it that way. Green over green, and it just kind of fills it in. And don't forget to sign your artwork. So, thanks for joining for the perspective. Have fun creating your Native American landscape in whatever medium you choose. Thanks for joining.